Hi there, my name is Michaela Winizanki, and this is the Filmmaking 101 workshop, The Basics. So you're interested in making a film. Whether that's a short scripted film, a documentary style film, a music video, an educational video, or otherwise, this presentation is an introduction to some of the basics of filmmaking that might be able to help you with your process. There are many steps and stages of filmmaking, and for today, we will be thinking of filmmaking in 4 basic stages. Conceptualizing, coming up with ideas for the film, which is also often called development. Pre-production, assembling what needs to come together to make the film. Production, the filming stage. And post-production, editing the footage and sound to create the final product. Conceptualizing. This is when we begin to create a vision. We daydream and brainstorm ideas. What is the story we would like to tell in our films? What is our message? We can write down ideas, draw sketches, write poems, create mood boards, whatever helps us understand our inspiration. Learnaboutfilm.com puts it as, in this stage, you work out your filmmaking idea and how you will tell your story. Your idea should be simple. Try writing it down in 50 words or in 1 tweet. If you can't, you need to rethink it or simplify it. The next step is pre-production, when we take our creative ideas and understand how we can make them into a film. Pre-production is when we start to get into the nitty-gritty of planning our film. Depending on what kind of film you hope to create, you may begin by writing a script or screenplay. You'll write out who your characters are, what they'll say, and what they'll do. If writing a script is not relevant to what you see your film as, then you may complete other steps, like writing interview questions and contacting people you'd like to interview. This quote from learnaboutfilm.com gives us an idea of some of the other steps that might be necessary now, like choosing a location or checking the light. For many filmmakers, drawing a storyboard is important for their filmmaking process. A storyboard is a sequence of drawings, almost like a comic book, that shows what will happen in the film, how the scene will look, and what shots you will need. In this example here, we see that the first shot is a wide shot of both Sarah and Callum, illustrating where they are and what the film is about. The next shot is a close-up of Sarah, who's speaking right to the camera, and below it we can see what Sarah is saying. This continues on for the rest of the storyboard and really illustrates what is going to be happening. A shot list is another way to visualize and organize what you need to record and film. We see in this example that is organized by the shots, then in what scene the shot is in, then the description of the shot, and then the technical details of framing, angle, perspective, and so on. We can take a closer look at this shot list and see here with shot 1 in scene 1. The description for this shot is that Susie is playing in the park with her mom. It's a long shot with an obtuse angle, which means that the camera is crooked, from the perspective of the camera that's doing the filming. Okay, so what was all that terminology I just used? Long shot? Angles? How do we even know how to plan a shot? There are some basic fundamentals in filming that give us the tools to tell a story and to convey emotions. Camera shot types are one of the fundamental building blocks, and angles are another. Camera shot types are the variety of shots we get from how close or how far away we are from our subject matter. In these 4 examples, we see the extreme shot, the long shot, the medium shot, and the close-up. Extreme long shot is where our subject is far away and we are able to see the setting around them. The long shot gets us a bit closer. We still see the surroundings, but we get to see the subject in more detail as well. The medium shot is a very useful shot. The camera captures this person from about their midpoint, around mid-torso and up. This shot is an example of the close-up, where we get right up to the subject. This time it's a person's face, but maybe it could have been their hands or a note on a table. Taking it to the next level is the extreme close-up, which can be even closer than what we see here. It could be as close as only seeing someone's eyes or their mouth entirely filling up the screen. Now, in each of those previous examples, the subject was lined up in the camera according to the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is a practice of composing shots, both in film and photography, in which the image is divided into equal thirds, like we see in these grids here. We use this grid to frame our subjects. In this rule, the most important subject matter, where we want our eyes to go, lines up with the points where the lines intersect. And although I've put the horizon right in the middle, often the rule of thirds guides us to put the horizon line on the top third or the bottom third of the shot. This rule is helpful because the eye wants to move around the shot with ease. We naturally look to the off-centered subject, and we naturally roam a little with our eyes to take in the surroundings. But rules are made to be broken too. By knowing the rule of thirds, we also know how to break it. You may center the subject, placing emphasis or importance on that character in the scene. Or you may put them right into a corner, which might speak to having an emphasis on the setting or on the environment. Each choice we make, when added up together, gives us a style and a tone to our work. As you experiment, you'll know what feels and looks good for you and your story. The camera shot angle is the location where the camera is placed to film the shot. Very commonly, a camera is placed at eye level, so we observe the subjects as we normally would if we were there. It is a very neutral angle. The camera may be placed at a low angle, so it looks up at the subject, making them look bigger and taller, and even scarier or more important. The camera may be placed at a high angle, looking down onto the subject, making them feel smaller and maybe weaker or scared. We see two examples here at the top left and the top right of looking down and looking up at our subject matter. We also see below them a profile and a 3/4 angle. We can look at this example of Harry Potter in confrontation with Voldemort. The two subjects are framed in a way called over the shoulder. We are literally looking over Voldemort's shoulder. There's a close-up of Harry. It's intimate, intense. Now we are looking at an example of a Dutch angle from Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. This is what the shot list had called an obtuse angle, which is when the camera is at an awkward angle and often used to create feelings of disorientation or discomfort. Many shots are static, meaning that they don't move, but sometimes a shot will move. Here, in this example, the arrows are indicating that there is movement. It is a zoom into this character. We see her with her sword, and the camera will zoom closer and closer into her face. Another movement shot is a pan, when a camera moves from side to side horizontally, often used to reveal. And our last example of a shot is another movement shot called a tilt, which moves the camera up and down vertically. It's another way of revealing or following action. There is so much more that we could talk about here, but I'll leave the shot planning with these basics for you to explore and experiment with. One thing I like to do is to film my static shot and then think, but what if I film this again with motion? Try things out and see what looks best to you. Now this shot list is starting to make more sense. With this knowledge in our back pocket, we can move to production. It's time to film. We get behind the camera to film what we've planned and to bring our creative ideas to the screen. We'll shoot the scenes we created in pre-production, or we'll set up for interviews and conduct them. We'll shoot extra footage, such as B-roll. Depending on your personal process as a filmmaker and what kind of film you are creating, you may rely heavily on the work from pre-production, or you may deviate quite a bit with room for adaptation. Some tips for the production phase. More is more. It may be tempting to film quickly and move on quickly, but if anything goes wrong that you didn't realize in the first take, you'll create more work for yourself, either refilming or scrapping that part altogether. Therefore, if filming something a few times, make sure that you've got a lot to work with when it's finally time to edit. You may need to film things out of order, meaning maybe you'll shoot the opening scene last, or you'll shoot all your interviews, and then you'll need to go and find some more shots that match with your interviews. Once you have all your footage, even if it's all out of order for now, you can bring it together in post-production. Now, sound is so incredibly important. If you are planning on having dialogue or speaking, make sure you have the right setup, the right environment, no wind, the right technology, a super good camera or a cell phone with a voice recording app going. I wish I could dive more into the world of sound, including voiceovers, but for now, we'll leave it here. And lastly, B-roll. What is it? B-roll is the supplemental video, as StudioBinder.com puts it here, what is secondary to your primary footage. It is often the footage that shows what is being told. In this example, we see a scene in which someone is being interviewed about going to their local coffee shop. The one-on-one interview is our main shot, or our primary footage. We could leave it here with them just talking to the camera, but we want to show what they are telling. So we use B-roll to bring that interest. In the main shot, they're saying, "I love going to the coffee shop." Their voice continues and they say, "They make fancy lattes at my local cafe." But now we've put in a shot of someone making the fancy latte. We cut back to the main shot where the subject is still talking. It's my favorite thing to do on the weekend. Cutting back and forth between the main shot and the B-roll helps to tell that story. Feel free to explore as you film. If something catches your eye or an idea pops into your head, follow that inspiration. All the work you did in pre-production gives you a sturdy framework to play around with. Once we have filmed everything we need, or just about everything that we need, this is when we move to the next stage of post-production. We get our audio and our video into our editing software, and all the pieces we've been working on get woven together into the film. As StudioBinder.com wrote, post-production is the stage after production when the filming is wrapped and the editing of the visual and audio materials begins. Now, there are many softwares that you could edit with. If you are using an Apple product, like a computer or an iPhone, then most likely it will have iMovie software already on it. Other smartphones can download apps for video editing, but be aware that they may leave their logo in the corner if you are using the free version. There are several options for websites that offer free editor software such as Canva, Bitable, and Powtoon. Or you can download a free trial of a software like Camtasia, Final Cut Pro, Adobe Premiere Pro, or more if you don't want to pay upfront. A free trial of a software might last anywhere between 7 to 30 days. I will walk you through the basic steps of using iMovie, and hopefully it will be a little helpful even if you end up using a different software. Okay, so here we see me pulling in my selected clips, including one song, into the video editor. Like the message says below, in the gray area, you drag and drop your clips into this gray plane. I've gone ahead and made it smaller so it's easier to work with. and I've gone through and I've just dragged every clip. Here I am shortening a clip or trimming the clip to the right length. You can do that by clicking on the edge of the clip and dragging it back, or hitting Command B to snip. And this might change depending on what editor you're using. Now I've been cutting and trimming my clips, but I haven't been editing sound. So I've gone ahead, clicked on that music, and dragged it down below my shots. Now at the top of iMovie, you'll find tabs for things like audio and backgrounds. I've clicked on the transition tab, and now I am dragging a cross-dissolve transition between each of the shots. You can experiment with using other transitions or no transitions if you please. Since I wasn't paying attention to audio as I was filming, I've decided to mute each of these clips, just so that only the background music will come through. Here, I've detached the audio, and if this were an interview, you could drag it out so that the person talking would play over multiple clips. By right-clicking on one of the clips, a menu will pop up with some more editing options. In this case, we see a speed editor or freeze frame. Some of my last work here is just dragging that audio right back so it matches the end of the video. And here is the final project with a few more touches added. To conclude this section, I've listed some resources for finding stock music and video, which is music and video that another person has filmed or recorded that can be used in your project. You cannot or should not use music or video footage that is copyrighted. That means something like a song by a musician that is not free for use. They have a copyright on it that prevents us from being able to use it in an easy, legal, or free way. So there are lots of alternatives for finding music, sound effects, and even videos in a way that is both legal and free. Creative Commons license is when the creators of a video, image, or sound agree that people can use their video or sound in their creative projects. There are several versions of Creative Commons licenses, but usually a website will let you know if you need to do something special, like give credit to the original artist of the video or sound. Public domain is video, image, or sound that is automatically free or legal for the public to use because its copyright has expired. Creative Commons and public domain is quite often royalty-free, meaning you do not need to pay to use it. As you do your research, looking for any clips or sound that you may want to use, it may be helpful to use the term royalty-free music in your search. Depending on what your intended use for the film is, like a contest or for showing on YouTube or elsewhere, it is important to think about copyright. Using copyrighted materials without proper permission can result in your video being taken down, rejected, or demonetized. It's good to play it safe if you aren't sure. There is so much more to learn, especially a lot more of the technical know-how. The internet has so many amazing resources to help you as you need. Whether you like reading or watching videos to help, There will be something to guide you out there. I've enjoyed learnaboutfilm.com and Vimeo Video School. And as a Canadian, the work of Planet in Focus and Real Youth is pretty great, especially their in-person programming. Thank you so much for watching this workshop. I hope that this quick intro to some of the basics helps you. Good luck on your creative journey.